So we consider coking coal, the domestic coking coal, also as a critical mineral. During the year 23, critical and strategic minerals have been a focal as well as very vocal point that is essential for the country's economic development and national security. The lack of availability of these minerals or the concentration of their extraction or processing in a few countries had led to supply chain disruptions and vulnerabilities. The future global economy will be underpinned by technologies that depend on minerals such as lithium, graphite, cobalt, titanium, and rare earth elements (RE). India has committed to achieve 50% of cumulative installed power capacity from non-fossil resources by 2030. So that is a challenging task. Why exactly do we need critical minerals? Our smartphones, laptops, LEDs, EVs, green energy and many more are mostly dependent on the availability of the critical minerals. And why do we need it? And why it has not so critical 2-3 days ago? Because we were more dependent on the conventional kind of energy sources and the systems. So now because of the technological disruption, it has come to a critical stage that we need these kind of minerals urgently. Now, as we can see the impact of global warming on our lives, we felt that the need to migrate from the conventional to modern ways, which would be more environmental friendly, as rightly said by this earlier speaker in the presentation. So this is very important that all such exploitation, exploration and the mining of these minerals should be sustainable and environmental friendly. Subsequently, the world is migrating towards technologically advanced and green energy sources. We need to understand the criticality of these critical minerals. For instance, the raw material for cobalt is mined in the Republic of Congo, which accounts for 70% of the world's total ore of cobalt. Now this ore is being transported to China, which accounts for 3/4 of the world's cobalt production. Now in terms of consumption, China alone consumes around 32% of the world's cobalt and they export the rest to the other countries. Now if we talk of the semiconductors, presently leading countries with semiconductor manufacturing facilities are United States, South Korea and Taiwan. But the reserve price is very high, so there is a need to reduce the reserve price by seeing the parameters of the coking coal compared with the international coking coal parameters, the tender conditions for conducting auctions, our lack of infrastructure in terms of the beneficiation and logistics is not as such wherein we can wash the proportionate amount of raw coking coal to suffice the requirement of the steel industry. With the success of Mission Coking Coal, I think we will be able to reduce the coking coal import by 30% by 2030. But then again, the futuristic approach of the government of India, they are path-breaking steps like commercial coal block auctions, different policies drafted in Mission Coking Coal, like the Ministry of Coal has achieved significant milestone with the allocation of 16 coking coal blocks. Some of the coking coal blocks are under development and maybe after 3-4 years we'll be able to get the washed coking coal from these commercial coal mines. BCCL has opened new avenues by inviting agencies and companies to undertake coking coal extraction from abandoned or discontinued BCCL owned mines. CIL subsidiaries like BCCL has floated tender for monetizing the efficient washeries. SAIL and BCCL have signed an MOU for supply of 1.8 million ton of washed coking coal to increase the availability of the coking coal in the country.
My colleagues on the dais, Mr. Abhyuday Jindal, Senior Vice President, Indian Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Kapil Dagat, Head Mining, JSPL, Mr. Satija, Chairperson, ISA National Expert Committee on Minerals and Metals, and esteemed guests and delegates in the House. I think with the extensive address given by two previous speakers, there is not much which is left in the forum to discuss. Yet I'll try to dwell on some initiatives that the Ministry of Steel is taking. I would like to refer you to the list of critical minerals that was released by the Ministry of Mines. And they mentioned European Union methodology, which lists the critical minerals on two parameters. One relates to its economic importance, and the second is the supply risk or vulnerability. And if you do that, the iron ore, the bauxite, the limestone are also covered within the list of critical minerals. So, I mean, by what we normally understand by critical minerals is one which are kind of rarer to find, whose bulk deposits are not available, and things of such kind where the, in addition to the availability, also the supply chain risk, the vulnerability therein, etc. also featuring. The government has indeed released that list, and of late they've also carried out several changes into the policy and legislation. I'm told that the list of the royalty required had also been revised recently in respect of all minerals, and they have been done in a very scientific basis. One, the royalties have been pegged at a level which is lower than what we get in the advanced countries. Two, you also see that the royalty has been put in two slabs. One slab is of that you impose on the primary minerals or primary, and the other is which you impose on byproduct. So again, a very scientific basis of classifying the royalties. I wish we had a similar regime with regard to the iron ore, where low and mean grade minor ores get lower levies, lower rates of royalty, because the exploration, the beneficiation of low and mean grade iron ore entails expenses, and if you impose the same rates of royalty, probably that may not work out. So in fact, our ministry is working out with Ministry of Mines as its head, and the Ministry of Environment and Forests, to see if we could encourage royalty regime which encourages beneficiation of the minerals on a large scale. And in India, the beneficiation is a critical requirement. Even in the sale itself, we have a low and mean grade minor iron ore stock of about 67 million tons, and if we do it, sum it across all the mines, the number would be quite extensive. And the fact also remains that it occupies a lot of area of the mines, and so until unless we find out ways to dispose of the low and mean grade mine ores, our ability to extract minerals from those mines remains limited, and to that extent our own mineral security gets affected. So I think this is a critical area, and our ministry is working. I may also mention to you that the National Mineral Development Corporation has opened a very beautiful, very advanced research and development center, which has very advanced scientific facilities for characterizing the mineral, for generating flow sheets of beneficiation of any kind of minerals, including iron ore, coal, etc. They also have bulk solids flow laboratory. So I recently visited last week itself, and I have advised them that they should not concentrate on serving themselves only, but should open it to all the miners within the country. I believe it's a national facility, and we are also working on its augmentation to become a full-fledged beneficiation pilot facility, as we have in several other parts of the world, for example, South Africa and Canada. So This is something brilliant that has come up, and I invite everyone to make use of the facility. The other point which I wish to tell you today is the issue of the expansion of Indian economy, and therefore the requirement of the ore that is going up. I'm not knowledgeable on the critical minerals as they are listed by Ministry of Mines, but I can tell you that even in the Ministry of Steel, the ores that we have and that we need are indeed quite challenging if we even look at the 2030 production. For example, today's production is somewhere in the range of about 270 million tons or so. And if we want to meet the requirement of the 2030 iron and steel production, we will need to mine about 437 million tons. So the capacity itself seems to be going up by an order of about 70%. So to get those numbers, and the fact that to open up any mines, it requires several years of time. So in fact, yesterday when I was reviewing with my colleagues our own situation in this regard, gave me good bump because until unless we start monitoring these things on a kind of a very detailed, very granular basis, we may fall short. So both the private sector, public sector and the ministry need to work together to ensure that the needs of the Indian industry, private sector, public sector, irrespective, is taken care of. Mr. Bharat spoke very extensively on the coking coal issue, and that's indeed a very critical issue. We have in the ministry tried to concentrate on one issue which in fact impinges a lot on the Indian steel companies, and that is the fragmented nature of the buying of coking coal by the Indian industry. So what you see that for example, SAIL buys on its own, JSPL buys on its own, and so on and so forth. And so if you see their leverage vis-a-vis the miners abroad, it's quite limited. So miners are able to dictate prices as they wish as compared to what they have been able to do with respect to producers in China or Japan. So we are working with the industry on a policy which would be, short name could be one nation, one buying, but we will go, it is not that every buying will be centralized, but we will kind of coordinate our steps together so that as far as the miners abroad are concerned, it looks like India is working in a monolithic fashion. So that is the kind of approach that we have taken. Soon we'll hear more about it. The other area that we are working on is the issue of the diversification of coking coal sources, and we are aware that most of the coking coal that comes to India, it comes from places like Australia. Now, Russia has also emerged as an important source, and so are Canada and USA. But we need to diversify to other sources as well, and there are challenges with regard to availability of logistics or indeed the facility to process them in those countries. Right? Ours is Indian industry, and to kind of adopt a pioneering spirit in this regard and to work with the government for diversification of the sources of coking coal. It is a combined work which will fetch us more success in this regard. And this will involve work by the industry, by the ministry, by its diplomats abroad. What we also need to do is to speeden up our the decision making in this regard. We should not believe that the world operates at the scale of our own decision making. The world operates at its own scale, and if we are unable to work at the scale that the world is used to, we might not be successful as far as acquisition of mineral assets abroad is concerned, or even if it comes to buying an asset which has already been established. So, in all these areas, both ministries and the industry need to work together. We also need to, I believe, work together to encourage our mining companies, our exploration companies to go abroad and do explorations and win assets which will, as has been explained earlier, will find a lot of market in India, and a lot of thriving market in India, given the scorching pace of growth that India is now showing. I wish to also take one more issue. This relates to the fact that there are major minerals which can be called as host metals, for example, aluminium, iron, copper, etc., whose mining releases a lot of dumps, etc., a lot of waste material, and they also contain a lot of critical minerals, so to say. I'm not an expert, so if I make a mistake, please pardon me. I was told that there is a ore of copper called porphyry, and porphyry has molybdenum associated with it, and many of these host metals also have a lot of minerals, critical minerals listed in our own critical mineral list, are associated with those host minerals. So we should be in a position to characterize the entire availability of the minerals, critical minerals particularly, and see if we are able to develop processing techniques, beneficial techniques which are able to release those critical minerals with the host minerals. That should be one of the tasks before our researchers to do that. One area which has been mentioned both by Mr. Jindal and Mr. Bharat, and I want to take my also reiterate that is the issue of the processing technology and capacity within the country. Most of it is getting processed. I visited Australia last year, and I was told that whatever lithium ore is mined, that is not processed in Australia, that goes to China and gets processed. And if Indian companies try to get into that market, it's very difficult to get that technology. It's not very sophisticated, yet neither we have it nor are we in a position to do that. Can we rally our Indian scientific and technical and research and development establishment to look at these problems and challenge them to develop the techniques of processing, and processing not in labs only but on an industrial scale, so that they could be mined and processed at economic cost in an environment friendly fashion. So it's a challenge that our Indian academia and research and development establishment and the private sector should work together. Here I would like to draw upon our experience.
Bharat in mining JSPL and all the dignitaries of the days. The discussion so far on critical minerals remind me one of the famous story of Gautam Buddha. That Gautam Buddha, once upon a time, after completing his discourse, was going to a different village. And on the way, his disciples saw a lot of pits dug on the side of the road. So he asked, Tathagat, why so many pits are dug? And he was amused, so he asked this question. And Gautam Buddha replied that probably he was looking for water. And instead of digging one deep well, he started digging many dips, thinking that the water will come with less effort. Had he been focused on one pit, probably would have got water easily and at lesser time. So the discussion on critical minerals reminded me of that story, because if you look for critical minerals, there are three approaches which are being taken worldwide. One is going for the new mines and the discussion on auction of the new mines which happen. Second, how you can draw as a byproducts. So I operate from Bhubaneswar. I know the discussion which have been for a long time, that how we can get nickel out of the chromite overburden in the area. And there are many other metals which have the potential to give other co-products. And third, the urban mining concept, how we can collect those appliances which we use normally, and then how we can recycle and derive those critical minerals out of that.